Hello and welcome to The View from the EBRD. We are here in Cyprus, in Nicosia, for the annual event of the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development. And I am joined by Pierre Gramegna, the Finance Minister of Luxembourg.
Yes, I'm pleased to be here in Nicosia. We just are halfway of the EBRD meeting, which I have the honor to chair this year. We had a very fruitful discussion this morning where we could see that the EBRD is very sound. It has a AAA status conferred by all rating agencies. Second, it has this year for 2016 registered a profit of 1 billion, up 25% from last year, and invested 9.4 billion euro into the countries of operation, which is equal to the record level of last year. So the EBRD is doing well.
That sounds good. What would you say is the upcoming challenge? We've had some interventions from Russia. Is Russia going to be the challenge for the EBRD?
Well, Russia is an important partner in the EBRD. We know that because of sanctions back in 2014, the EBRD has not put additional money and new money, let's say, in new projects in Russia, but is still very much involved on older projects which are unfolding to the tune of 3.7 billion euro right now. So it's still an important number. But obviously this is connected with the evolution of politics and foreign strategic matters, but the bank is playing its role for all the things it has committed to, and that's all the bank can do for the time being.
Well, let's move to Luxembourg. Obviously, your strong point as well. Now, Luxembourg's economy has been growing strongly. Fiscal position's been strong. Obviously, you have a very good corporate tax base and taxation in general. Now, I was wondering, how is the implementation of international tax initiatives going to have an impact on your fiscal position?
Well, I think that many observers over the last couple of years have been surprised how the BEPS initiative at G20 level and OECD level could conclude its immense work. And we now have an agreed framework with lots of proposals that all the countries are called upon to implement. Now, the European Union has been a pioneer now in this field, really doing things more quickly. We have adopted 2 anti-tax avoidance directives in Europe, and we are presently in all the countries, including mine in Luxembourg, implementing that. I'd like to underline that this was only possible because we had unanimity, because in tax matters you need unanimity. So Luxembourg, together with all the others, was very eager to go forward in this way of implementing agreed standards. Now, you're asking me what Luxembourg thinks about it and how it could impact our economy. Now, what I think is key is to understand that we're doing this in parallel with other countries around the world. So what the OECD BEPS initiative has done is to set a framework that will apply to all main countries, and that means that we're all changing at the same time. So in other words, we are building a level playing field. And when we do change all at the same time, you're not making one country less competitive than the others. So that's quite different from initiatives that would be taken on an individual basis.
Okay, and what's your view on this initiative from the EU of creating a common corporate tax base? This has been around before and it's been reintroduced.
Yes, the Common Corporate Tax Base Directive was originally presented many years ago and failed to convince the countries. Now, the Commission has built on the success of the BEPS initiative of the OECD and the G20 to relaunch that directive. So, part of the things that are in this directive are again picking up on this general framework, and part of it is more typical EU inside looking, like bringing the tax base of all the countries closer together. I have two comments to that. One is that we must make sure that the end result of this directive does not mean that we make Europe less competitive than the rest of the world. We need a level playing field, and we need to make sure that the goal that we want to achieve to be maybe more converging in terms of tax base doesn't mean that we make Europe less competitive. The other issue is we must also carefully look at what is in the BEPS initiative and what is a must that we must take over and what is a nice to have. And last but not least, our parliament in Luxembourg has clearly stated that we must make sure that the directive builds on subsidiarity and proportionality. So we should only decide on matters that we really need.
Okay, well, let's move to another issue in the EU. Brexit is something that you kind of have to talk about. How much of an impact do you think this will have on the Luxembourg economy?
Well, I think we have to distinguish here short term and medium term. Now, in the short term, as has been very evident, many players in London have to prepare their future. It's become obvious that after Brexit, the United Kingdom will not be able to keep a full and automatic access to the EU single market. This being now understood by everybody, many companies are looking for a foothold, a headquarter, a subsidiary inside the European Union single market, and many are considering Luxembourg. Some have even chosen Luxembourg. I mean, in the field of insurance, a couple of companies have already communicated on it, also in the field of asset management, and probably others also in the field of fintech are going to choose our country. So we're very pleased about that. On the other hand, we insist a lot that we need to have a strong bond, a strong bridge with London as we have it today. So let's also be realistic. It is not because you lose the automatic full access to the EU single market that you cannot do business anymore together. You can do it by using a subsidiary, as, for example, the Swiss banks have shown in the past. But in the medium term, what is of concern to Luxembourg, and I suppose to many countries, is that once the UK walks out of the EU, the largest financial center in the world will not be in the EU anymore, because London will stay a very important and probably the most important financial center. So we need to build these bridges, and we need to make sure that the UK and its financial center get the right hook, the right link with Europe. We don't want to see the financial center of London drift away into the Atlantic.
Pierre Gramegna, thank you very much.
Thank you.